Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, give it up for Mary Weems. That's why you recognize the name. Don't forget, tampon class, chapbook, it's up at this table, grab one, she will sign it for you. I feel very fortunate to have had her reading here tonight. And to introduce that. All right. So, what, I mean, is this like a shitty week for everybody?
Not here, not me.
Not you. Good. That's good to hear. I need that positive reinforcement. The next reader that we have here tonight, we are somewhat fortunate to have him. He's an Eagle Scout.
Oh yeah.
He's an active trailblazer. He's in more ways than one. He's the proprietor of the Language Foundry in Tremont. He's a publisher. He's an enthusiast.
Where's your manuscript?
And the first time that I met him, I want to tell you a little story about the first time I met our next reader. It was actually here after a reading. We got together. Joseph had read as an open mic reader his peculiar brand of crazy, nonsensical, difficult verse that didn't make any sense to anybody in the bar. And it didn't make any sense until then, he and I sat down and talked about it. And, he explained, his background, his academic background, the state of the art of his poetry, the state of the art of what he is trying to do. And I still didn't understand that. Until I got cut by a piece of glass in the garden. And Joseph grabbed a twig off of a tree. Remember, he's an Eagle Scout. And dipped it into the blood of my foot and then wrote on my belly his poems in my blood, etched through the hairs protruding off of my gut in a longitude that made no sense in this world, but once translated onto the hemisphere of my beer, bloated, fat ass, began to intersect themselves to make sense in the geometry of space and time that he was writing. Now I was on my back and he was on top of me, sort of,
I only had a
with this twig. And I had to have my foot positioned in a certain way that I can't do while standing. So that while he was doing this, he could reach over like Voltaire and dab the twig in my foot, and then reach back over and etch.
Wow.
And once that was done, this lasted about, this was about 2.5 hours that we were doing this.
At least.
Feeding ourselves on cups of wine.
Cups.
Supped, succulent wine that afterwards and we were talking about many things, astronomy, lucid dreaming, the determination of Leviathan in the depths of the soul. That after this was done, I got up, kissed him gently on the forehead, walked out, and looked in the mirror at what he had done to my torso. And what I saw made no sense. Just like nothing makes much sense.
We went backwards.
Until I drank a quarter of a quart of whiskey. A quarter of a quart. And then my head went backwards and could see through the mirror backwards what was going on and could see what he was doing, and then it made perfect sense. He had written on my stomach a map of the Laurel Highlands trails transcended through the verse of a butterfly imposed on Whitman and then reversed into Charles Olson. And then he gave me a book of Charles Olson.
No, he did.
I didn't know what that meant.
I saw it.
But what I saw was a peculiar genius. A peculiar genius inflated by testosterone and the moment of what I can only call his lower back hair. It made sense, and it was good. And since then, Joseph has been probably one of the most honest readers and honest editors that I have run across, which hasn't been many, I'll be honest with you, but it means something, especially in this context. The only other thing I have to say about him is that he's provided a great venue at his shop front at Lemco Hall here at the Language Foundry for experimental film, for readings. The first reading was a 24-hour reading.
Yes, it was.
Fantastic. Fiction, poetry. Enormous enthusiasm, enormous energy to want, to push, to do more. Ladies and gentlemen, put your motherfucking hands together for Joseph Makkos!